Next step communications from the Source are your point of connection with the work of the Source to build the heaven life was meant to be. I'm Sherry Daniel. I'm the director of the Heaven Project and the founder of the Miracle School. Next Step Communications is sponsored by the Miracle School, which is a Source-directed, miracle-based training program for spiritual activists. This Source communication is the first in the Live Heaven Spiritual Coaching Series. This series was created to provide you with Source-directed, miracle-based spiritual coaching that empowers you to live the adventure that manifests the heaven of true happiness. Now let's talk a little bit about how to work with the Source communication. This Source communication conveys the Source perspective on the state of the world and on the Source solutions that can transform life into the heaven of true happiness that it was created to be. As the manifestation of the Source who incarnates in order to help beings to transition into a life that is heaven, I help you to think through what is needed to make this transition and access the miracles that will help you to bring the picture into sharper focus. Transformational energies are transmitted through this Source communication, through the sound of my voice, through the written word, and through the Source drawing that is the background for the slides. To benefit from these energies, you need to listen with your heart and ask to awaken to the heaven that your life was meant to be. The focus of this Source communication is on exploring the most important decision you make in your life. This is the decision to live either a story way of life that is based on your personal and cultural stories, or to live the Source-created life adventure, which is based on the spiritual technology of a personal life adventure, backed by the miracles of the Source and the Source as your guide and coach on the adventure. To get a clearer idea of each of these choices, let's take a look at them in greater detail. Let's start with a story way of life. A story way of life is the life that most humans live. The stories vary according to the cultural context, but the essential features of this way of life are common across all of the cultures of the world. Your personal story defines who you are, what life is about for you, and the kinds of things that happen to someone like you. It defines the meaning of your life and becomes the way of life in which you invest your time, energy, and resources. In a story way of life, you define your personal story based on the cards dealt you by your cultural story. For example, if you are born into a minority social group that is poverty-stricken and discriminated against by the majority, your personal story may center on surviving in this hostile social environment and trying to secure whatever happiness you can given your circumstances. If you are born into an elite, privileged class where money is not an issue, your personal story will reflect the options that you have available to you, and also the pressures exerted upon you by your social group. Your personal story is also influenced by your childhood experiences and how you react to them. If you conclude that you can be successful in staging the successes that you've outlined for your personal story, then you might be a very ambitious go-getter. If you conclude that you are a failure and unlikely to succeed at much of anything, then your personal story might stage continuing episodes in which you never get what you want. In an odd way, these failures manifest your personal story of being a failure. This is satisfying to the aspect of your consciousness that fabricated this story and lives to see it play out. I have seen many people who are as attached to personal stories that yield repeated failures, as are the people who are attached to personal stories that yield what would be thought of in their social context as repeated successes. In a story way of life, you make your best guess about what to try to manifest in your life based on your theory about what is going to bring you the greatest happiness. Many people find that their best guess isn't good enough. This is why many marriages end up in divorce, many friendships end up terminated on bad terms, and many jobs are disappointments from which people seek to escape. And many financial investments turn sour, leaving everyone in a worse place than when they began. You pay a big price for guessing and missing the mark. The price you pay is the quality of your daily life and often what kind of choices you will have in the future. An expensive financial mistake can lead to years of financial hardship and lost financial opportunities. When you turn to others for advice, they can share with you what they think will work, but they don't really know what is best for you, and their best guess may be no better than yours. Ultimately, they're guessing about what works just like you are. In a story way of life, you have to stage the events that enable your story to play out. If you fail to stage them, you will not succeed in fulfilling your personal story. Many people have a personal story that includes finding their ideal life partner, having a happy family, and a fulfilling career. Not many people are able to pull this off in real life. This is because they have no real control over all of the variables that stage these outcomes. For instance, you could long for a beautiful romantic relationship, but not know how to find the right person. You could want a happy family life, but not know how to bring peace into the family, as children quarrel and the stresses of parenting take their toll on the quality of your marital life. Staging even the ordinary events of a life are a challenge, and opportunities to realize your dream can slip through your fingers because you don't know how to marshal all of the resources that are actually needed to stage a successful outcome. In a story way of life, you have little understanding of how your personal decisions affect the lives of others. Now, most caring people try to live their lives in a way that does not do harm to others. The problem with this is that it's hard to know how your decisions will really impact others. For example, in a complex global economic system, it is hard to know how the decisions that you are making are affecting the environment and the well-being of others. For instance, a product that you might find useful could be produced at the cost of polluting the drinking water or releasing toxic chemicals into the air. The inexpensive clothing that you enjoy purchasing in your local department store may be the product of sweatshops that abuse the workers, turning their lives into the hell of scarcity and suffering so that you can enjoy the heaven of purchasing clothing that is attractive and inexpensive. Your decisions can take a resource that was needed by another, while someone else takes what is needed by you. You really have no way of knowing how to live differently if you are only referencing your personal story that is directing you to serve your own needs in the best way possible, but which is not cluing you in on how your decisions are actually affecting the welfare of others. In a story way of life, if major changes occur in the world around you, or in your own personal circumstances, you have to rewrite your personal story to adjust to the changes. If you fail to do so, then you could lose all structure and purpose and face crippling loss and depression. In a constantly changing, fast-paced world, many people experience varying degrees of stress from having to adjust to the changes which require them to alter their personal stories to one degree or another. Stress can reach the level of a complete psychological collapse in those who can't adjust to either accumulated changes or sudden and traumatic changes, such as the loss of loved ones in an accident or a natural disaster, the loss of financial security, the loss of the support of a social group through divorce or relocation. Some people are good at reformulating their personal story, or they develop a personal story that will accommodate a wide range of possible changes. Other people crack along with their story and can't put the pieces back together again. Now let's look at the other option, which is to opt into your source-created life adventure. The source creates for you a life adventure that guarantees that you will have an opportunity to experience the highest level of happiness that is possible for you in this lifetime. The happiness that is yours to have is defined by the mission that prior to your birth into this life you elected to complete. This mission is to build the heaven of the highest level of happiness for yourself and all others. Your mission is based on your unique spiritual function in the creation and on your ability to build an aspect of heaven that only you, with your unique miracle-based abilities, can build. When you build the heaven that you came into this life to build, you experience complete life purpose fulfillment, and others enjoy the heaven that you have built for them in the world. The Source becomes your personal guide and coach, helping you to travel the path of miracles created by your life adventure. Instead of looking to your own self-made ideas about how to live your life, you turn to the ultimate spiritual teacher and healer, the Source. With the Source as your guide and coach on the adventure of your life, you know that you will not risk wandering off your path of miracles into the underbrush and getting attacked by the alligators. You can confidently progress guided by the Source intelligence that informs you of where you are in your adventure and what next step you need to take to continue to progress toward your goal of ultimate happiness. All of the resources that you will need to be successful on your adventure are manifested by the adventure as you travel your path of miracles. You need to do your part in grounding these miracles, but everything that you need is always available to you. It's hard to explain to somebody who has not been traveling their path of miracles what a huge difference it makes to have an abundance of miracles available to you to help you deal with the challenges of your life and to enable you to experience a quality of life that is simply not possible without the miracles in the picture. Those who have transitioned into a miracle-based way of life can't imagine living without miracles that transform the ordinary episodes of their life into heaven. They have often said to me that you couldn't pay them to go back to living a story way of life, where everything that they have is achieved by brute force, and what they get, even at its best, doesn't light a candle to even one moment of the heaven that is possible on the adventure of their life. Those who've experienced the miracles that make life heaven are eager to get equipped and trained to do their parts in grounding all of the miracles that they and others need to transform the world into the heaven it was meant to be. They have seen the promise of heaven, and they don't want to go back to putting up with the belief that the dog-eat-dog world that we live in is as good as life is ever likely to get. They know that this is not a necessary reality. They invest in a heaven reality that enables them to pilot themselves safely around the obstacles of disease and scarcity and misfortune toward total abundance, perfect health, love-based relationships, life purpose fulfillment, and the love connection with the Source. They know that it is a journey to achieve these goals at the highest level, but that with the Source as their guide and the adventure structuring the path they travel, it is possible to achieve success. They are in contact with the members of the 14 prototype communities that I, in my previous lifetimes, many thousands of years ago, have founded in different parts of the creation. These prototype communities have traveled the distance and have achieved love-based communities that nurture all of their own. They are available to guide those working on the earth to follow in their footsteps and achieve the same remarkable heaven way of life. I'm also here to provide the Source support to replicate the success of the prototype communities in modern times. All of the miracles and the Source support that is needed for a prototype community on the earth to be successful are already available. I am awaiting the people who will come forward to travel the path of miracles that will transform their individual lives and the lives of the community into the heaven of true happiness. Never before in the history of the creation has the Source sent in the kind of power and miracles that it is sending in now to establish a love-based universal community. I, as its representative in the manifest world, am here to implement the Source plan for transitioning all of life in the creation out of the suffering that exists today into the abundance, good health, love-based relationships, and individual fulfillment that is possible. As each being throughout the creation travels their individual path of miracles, they will receive all of the miracles that enable them to not only transition into living heaven in their daily lives, but to help the community transition into a heaven way of life. The Source guarantees that the choices that you make on your life adventure will bring about the greatest good for all who are affected by them. Your actions will contribute to the heaven that is being built in the creation for all beings. Because the Source is the Creator, the intelligence that designed and created all of life, it is able to calculate all of the variables involved in creating an experience of heaven for every individual life, and also orchestrating the experience of heaven for the universal community as a whole. This is in marked contrast to the chaos and competition in the story way of life, where one man's heaven leads to another man's hell. There's nothing more beautiful than knowing that your actions will add up to the greatest good for all concerned, even if, in your human mind, you can't track all of the variables that would enable you to stage such an outcome. In the event of major changes in your life adventure will continue to provide the structure for how to adapt to these changes and continue on to the successful conclusion of your life adventure. Those who follow their life adventure have the advantage of being able to travel into the future of their life adventure to see what is going to happen. This gives them the edge on the major changes that will be occurring in their life adventure and any major changes that might be occurring in the world around them. If there is danger, they are alerted and can work with the adventure to avoid it. If there are decisions that they need to make in light of some future event, they have the advantage of being able to look ahead and make the decisions that are in alignment with their highest good. This kind of security is not possible when you're flying by the seat of your pants in your own personal story. If your personal story doesn't anticipate a major change, you could be ill-prepared and at a loss with regard to how to cope with what is happening. One of the biggest changes that lie ahead is the absolute need for every being to secure their connection with the Source who supplies them with the energies that sustain their lives. After the crash in 2011 of the Universal Source Connection channel, which provided the power supply that sustained beings, there is no longer any spiritual energy to sustain anyone who is not living in harmony with the Source and the principles of life that make life heaven. Those following personal and cultural stories that disconnect them from the Source and create lives of suffering and misfortune burn through the limited spiritual fuel given them by the Source to sustain their lives. Their spiritual bodies are like inefficient vehicles that are consuming so much spiritual fuel that they will run out of fuel before they complete the journey. In our current times, the only sustainable way of life is a heaven way of life, where every being lives in harmony with their true life purpose, contributing to the heaven that sustains all of life. As beings live heaven, they perfect their suits and strengthen the Source connection so that they can continue to receive the spiritual fuel that supports the spiritual and physical aspects of their manifestation. They burn the spiritual fuel given to them in a measured way and learn how to regenerate fuel supplies to sustain them on their journey. Those who live the hell of suffering, scarcity, and struggle burn the limited spiritual fuel given to them by the Source too fast. They will not be able to sustain their manifestations in the time ahead. When you transition into a Source-created life adventure, it generates a path of miracles that will enable you to become energy efficient at a spiritual level. In this way, you can secure your safety in the years ahead and help to contribute to the creation of a sustainable community. Now let's take a look at the big picture. When people collectively make a choice to live story lives or to live the adventure, it is possible to see the collective impact of these individual choices. It is not hard to assess the impact on individuals and on the global community of people choosing to live a story way of life. The story way of life has created the world we live in today, a world that is rife with war, crime, discrimination, child abuse, domestic violence, disease, tragic accidents, scarcity, struggle, and suffering. There is no life that is not touched by the misfortunes that beset them individually and affect them through the suffering of others around them. The pursuit of personal and cultural stories has led to world wars and to the desecration of the environment. This way of life is a threat to the sustainability of life on the planet. If the pursuit of personal and cultural stories were to yield a good result, we would see it by now. Instead, we see a dog-eat-dog world where people live in fear of one another and of the collective stories that could take us into nuclear war or irreversible environmental destruction. On the other hand, the Source-created life adventure has yielded a heaven way of life that has been successfully lived by the 14 prototype communities which I founded in different parts of the universe many thousands of years ago. These communities are enjoying, to this day, the heaven of total abundance, perfect health, love-based relationships, and life purpose fulfillment. Now in modern times, I'm prepared to guide you on the adventure to achieve what they achieved and to take their success to an even higher level. The higher level is to have the heaven experience, which is an ultimate experience of happiness. The heaven experience is the experience of living beyond fear in the love of the Source and becoming the heaven that you wish to manifest in your life and in the world. As you become love in action, you become a Source-guided spiritual activist, working with the Source to manifest the heaven that your life and all of life was meant to be. You become a part of the work of the Source to build the heaven of lives that work and a world that works. So now that we've explored the two different ways of life, let's turn our attention to what you need to think through in order to make a decision about which way of life you're going to invest your time, energy, and resources into manifesting. Do you choose to have a quality of life that far surpasses what you can have by trying to manifest your personal story? From the discussion so far, you can see that the quality of life is guaranteed by the Source when you opt into your life adventure and begin traveling your path of miracles. But think also about the incredible increase in the quality of your life experiences when miracles are involved. To give you an example, when you are tired and stressed, you might go for a massage or soak in a warm tub of water. What if you also had the option of experiencing a heaven spa, where the miracles of perfect body work enable you to really release your stress by activating the correct lines of force in your body that release deep-seated tension and distress? What if this body work could happen while you lie comfortably in your own bed without having to drive to an appointment? What if you could immerse yourself in a medium of relaxing and rejuvenating heaven energies that restore your mind, body, and spirit in a way that nothing in the external world can do? Isn't this better than an ordinary massage and a soak in the bathtub, which may or may not really release your inner stress? What if you could turn to the Source for help in working through a troubling family relationship that might end badly? What if miracles of healing could come to you and to the others involved that could transform intractable conflict into a healing resolution? Wouldn't this be better than muddling through on your own, or turning to the ordinary levels of support available to you through, say, a secular counselor who may not properly assess what is going on in the situation and may actually become a part of a dynamic that further fractures the already fractured family dynamic? Secular counselors are not trained to assess what is happening on the spiritual level of reality. They're trained to base their advice on the standard cultural stories for what a happy family should be like. Since what happens on the spiritual level of reality is 90% of what governs what happens on the physical level of reality, which is the part that you experience on the outer plane, a lack of knowledge of what is happening on the inner plane is crippling to the effort to bring about a complete resolution. It's like looking at 10% of a car engine when the trouble that has caused the car to break down might be in the other 90% of the engine. What if some negative force on the spiritual level of reality was affecting some member of your family and causing them to act out? And clearing this force is the only real solution to restoring peace in the family. Wouldn't you rather know directly from the source what is going on both the inner plane and the outer plane, and receive the help of miracles and direct source interventions rather than just trying to deal with a partial analysis of the problem and a partial solution? What if you and others could turn to the source to do the same kind of healing on a more massive scale for countries at war, to bring about a real healing from which a long-term peaceful resolution could arise? Wouldn't this be a more efficient use of resources than trying to cope with the spillover of the violence into alliances that could build toward a third world war? Wouldn't it also be a more humane way to deal with the incredible suffering experienced by those living in a war zone? What if you could know in advance about the loved ones that you came into this life to meet, and you could travel your path of miracles to meet them on the outer plane? What if you could follow the adventure to find your true made-in-heaven partner, rather than just settling for the only suitor who is on the playing field when you decide to marry someone? What if the source could guide you toward the kind of activities that will bring in the income that is a natural part of your life adventure? Wouldn't this be better than trying to wrestle resources from the world with brute force, not ever knowing if you're missing the real opportunities that are yours to have? What if you could turn to the source for solace when the hard things of life hit, such as the passing of a loved one? Wouldn't it be better to receive the miracle of being able to find healing and peace rather than trying to wade through an ocean of grief to the other side? What if you knew that when it was your time to cross over, that the source would be there to greet you and help you across? Wouldn't this be far better than lifting out of your body and discovering, as so many people do, that the story of your life has ended and now you have no structure and no meaning, and you are entirely alone? You are no longer so-and-so's mother or wife or husband or brother. You are no longer defined by your personal wealth or by anything at all familiar. This is the problem with personal stories. They die with the body that lived them. Then you, the soul, are left without any point of reference, unless you have opted into the adventure of your life, in which case the adventure simply takes you into the new landscape and you continue on confidently, using your skill sets and living the adventure in your next location in the creation. Now let's look at another aspect of this decision. Do you want your life to contribute to the happiness of all others? If you want to be happy, an important part of this happiness is knowing that you are contributing to the happiness of all others. Only a source-created life adventure can guarantee that what is to your highest good will also be to the highest good of all others. Now let's look at another aspect of this decision. Would you rather invest in a quality of life that the Creator is guaranteeing will be the best life that is possible for you in this life, drawing on its knowledge of who you are as a unique spiritual intelligence and the mission that you chose prior to entering into this life? Or would you rather guess at your life purpose and potentially miss the mark and fail to achieve it? Or invent a life purpose which may not have anything at all to do with the mission you chose for yourself before you incarnated into this life? The fact of the matter is that you are investing your time, energy, and resources in staging your current way of life. What if you could be 100% assured that every step you took would be an investment in a way of life that would yield you true life fulfillment and the highest level of happiness that is possible. Wouldn't this be better than banking on your personal story without knowing whether it's really going to yield any real happiness? There is nothing worse than exiting from your life at death, filled with regret and remorse because you realize, all too late, that you have missed the opportunity to fulfill your true life purpose for which you incarnated in this lifetime. Now is the time to understand your mission in life and to get into alignment with it so that the heaven that you incarnated to experience can be experienced in this lifetime. Then at the moment of crossing over, you are filled with the joy of a task well done and you are ready to embark on your next adventure. And finally, would you rather have the Source as your guide and coach, or rely on your own street smarts, or the limited expertise of others who are also caught up in their personal and cultural stories and see you through these filters? When you stop to think about it, what better expert could you ever have than the Source, who, once you learn how to receive inner plane source guidance, is available to you 24/7. If you sit bolt upright in the bed in the middle of the night with a burning question about a decision that is pressing on you, wouldn't you rather be able to ask the ultimate expert, the Source, right then and there rather than wait until morning and try to come up with some of your own theories or try to look up a professional advisor who might give you the wrong advice? And if the advice the Source gave you depended on miracles coming through to secure your success, wouldn't you feel more confident following this advice when you knew that these miracles and the ultimate miracle of the Source as your coach and guide would be continuing on as you tackled the problem at hand? Think of how comforting this is. Think of how wonderful it is to have not only good advice, but to be surrounded by the absolute love of the Source, who wants you to succeed and is right there to help you along your path in life. If you are like so many others, you may have experienced what it has been like to turn to others for support and to find that they have had poor judgment and have led you astray, or have been working the angles to their own self-interest and not really caring what happened to you, or were simply too busy to ever really be a resource to you in your life. The Source is not like that. As long as you do your part on your life adventure, you generate the energies that ground the miracles of the Source helping you through all of the stages of your life. There is no greater miracle than this. It is the ultimate blessing, the ultimate security. To help you bring these issues into focus, let's look ahead. What will happen in your life if you do nothing and just continue on with your personal story? What's the highest level of happiness that you can achieve? What will happen if you receive the gift of a life adventure from the Source and lifetimes of Source support to experience the highest level of happiness that is possible for you? A miracle tool that I call the Access Point Miracle will help you to access information and miracles that will enable you to look ahead into the future to answer these questions. It will give you additional information and Source support to help you to make an informed decision. Since choosing your path in life is the most important decision that you will make, it is necessary to educate yourself about your options so you make the best decision. Now let's take a look at the next step. If your decision is to either have a life that is heaven, or to work with the Access Point Miracle to explore what one would be like for you, then here's what you need to do to take your next step toward understanding this way of life. You need to contact me for a gifted coaching session. In this session, I will show you how to work with the Access Point Miracle to explore what your future is going to be like if you continue on the path of a story way of life, or if you embark on your Source-created life adventure. With the insights and miracles that the Access Point Miracle can afford you, you can make a more informed decision. This session is gifted to you by those who have already embarked on their life adventure and wish to provide you with the support to explore what it would be like for you. They would like you to join them in building a love-based world which nurtures all of its own, a world that is possible when you have the power of the Source and the spiritual technology of the adventure behind you. To schedule your gifted coaching session, you can go to www.themiracleschool.net/gifted coaching session. I look forward to helping you explore what a life that is heaven would look like for you.